Yo, what's up, baby? This is Bert Watson, and you're listening to Radio MMA, because this is what they do and why they do it, baby, all night long, because they rolling hard, fast, and on the money.
What's been going on? What have you been up to the last few weeks?
Man, same old, same old. Came in and I'm back to work. I'm training.
Nice.
Back to training. Yeah. Nothing really. Just training.
Right. So, for anyone that missed your last fight last month, just walk the fans through the fight. How did it go down?
It was just the way I expected. I mean, I'm a guy who, like, I study the sport a lot. I love the sport, and I study it all the time. And so the big thing is when I go into a fight, I at least want to have an idea and a plan of what I want to do and how I can neutralize my opponent and win the fight. And so it was just what I expected. He's, of course, much respect to him. He's very, very heavy-handed. Very heavy-handed. He swings very heavy, and he's got a lot of power. And so I knew in order for me to go ahead and definitely take away that power to where he's not a threat is by taking him down to the ground. And it just so happens that, you know, that's the area that I'm versed the most, that I'm the strongest at. And so, you know, I just kept taking him down and taking him down. And I could have stood up and, you know, and exchanged with him. And I did for a while, but, you know, I felt like, why don't I just go ahead and, you know, take him out of his element.
Sure.
And bring him down to the ground. And so I kept taking him down, and I knew I was wearing on him because he couldn't do what he wanted, which was just stand into a wild shot. And so I kept taking him down, wore him out. In the second round, you know, that was pretty much the first round. I just wore him out, wore on him. And I knew he was getting tired. And so in the second round, he felt a little more desperate because I knew his corner would tell him to basically try to finish the fight as soon as possible because you don't want to go to a third round and take another round like that. And so he came out right away, and he caught me standing there, and he clipped me with a good uppercut, which staggered me for a little bit, but I was never really hurt. I was still very, very coherent. And he came in for the finish, and I just waited for my opportunity, took him down again, and finished him with a signature choke I've been working on.
That weekend, that fight went down. It was the same week as the Fan Expo and UFC 189. Just how crazy was that entire week? Was there a lot of distractions for you?
It was a very crazy week, but that's what I knew it was going to be like that. I expected that, and that's what I wanted. You know, I went in with the plan and the goal and everything in mind of how things were going to go, how things were going to be, and it worked out that way at all. As far as it being a distraction, I don't think so. You know, I mean, I know that's just business. It's a fight business. It's a spectator sport.
Sure.
And so there's going to be fans everywhere. And, you know, unfortunately, I actually didn't get to go to the Fan Expo. I was there actually for the weigh-in because we had our weigh-ins there.
Right.
And that was about the only time that I really was there. Most of the time I was, you know, stuck in my room, just focusing and concentrating on my fight.
Just talk about the overall experience of being stuck in the house.
Man, being stuck in the house was an experience. It was. I don't think a lot of people nowadays are ever really prepared for something like that.
Right.
Because, and this is the biggest thing that I've said, you know, in recent interviews, and is the fact that in our daily lives, every day, we don't realize it because we're so programmed and we're so used to it, but we have so many fillers all throughout the day, whether it's just walking down the street, whether it's taking a walk, you know, whether it's listening to music on your phone, you know, with social media, whatever it is. We have so many different fillers throughout this day. And so when we're in that house, the biggest challenge, and some people can't handle it, that's why some people go crazy, is you're locked in the house, you have no music, you have no TV,
right,
no internet, none of that. And so you're in this house and you're secluded, and there's not random guests, there's no one like that. You're secluded and you're in this house, and the only noise that's made in the house is the noise that you make. And so a lot of people can't really deal with that because that noise, it drives some people crazy because it's dead silent. It's dead silence there unless you create noise. And it's just you, the other guys you're going to be fighting, and the camera guys. And so it's a different psychological experiment just to be able to deal with that. And on top of all that stressors, you have to fight these guys. You have to keep your diet and your weight down. And on top of that, you're missing your family. Some guys are married and have kids. And, and I have a daughter myself. And so it was very challenging, to be honest with you. But, being from a wrestling background, I kind of had experience with, as far as the competing and the cutting weight and the dieting aspect of it. I was used to that, so that wasn't really that much of a challenge for me. But, dealing with those every day-to-day just moments where you're not really training or doing something, those are tough moments.
You've got to wear the Reebok gear. What's your overall assessment of it?
Overall assessment of it, to be honest with you, initially, and I think that's everybody. Initially, right. You're turned off from it. You're upset about it because
sure.
One, now that takes away your ability to go get this $500 sponsorship here, this $1,000 sponsorship, this one, and this $500, $200, whatever it is, patches all over your shorts and your banner, and you make. Some guys might make close to $5,000. Some guys might make 10. Some guys make more. The big name guys might make more for sponsorship. But let's be honest, like the sponsorship market has been dying for years, mainly because yes, the UFC tax is a tough one. That hurt a lot of them. But at the same time, there's so many fighters and so many different organizations where these fighters need sponsorship. That takes away from, sponsorship at all times. And so now that Reebok came in and Reebok did away with, the patches and all that, a lot of people were upset about it. But I think in turn, when everyone sees how it's so much, for me, I think it's so much cleaner now. It's cleaner. I mean, yes, you go in there and you have a uniform, just with the way they did everything. It's cleaner. You get in the locker room, there's your locker there with your gear and your corner men
right.
gear. And everything in there. It's just so much cleaner, so much easier. Now you don't have to worry about your gear getting there on time, getting your banner approved, that these sponsors approved, and things of that nature. It's all very simplified, and I think in turn everyone's gonna fall in line, and everyone's gonna like it. I just think now people are very what's the word I'm looking for? People rebel against change right away.
Right.
And so I think that's the biggest thing right now is people are rebelling against that. But I think Reebok I think it's a good deal for Reebok and it's a good deal for the UFC. It cleans certain things up.
Okay, how's your health coming off this fight, and when can we see you again in the octagon?
Coming off the fight, I didn't really take any damage coming off the fight. Before, I had a lot of bumps and bruises. I had surgery, not too long before my fight, but I worked through it. I have a great team, great physical therapist, great strength and conditioning coach. Of course, my management team is, I believe, is one of the best in the world. And they just worked with me day in and day out, make sure I was ready for the fight. And I went and took care of business. And now I'm just training. And and this is something I told Joe Silva when he came in and he shook my hand. I said, hey, don't put me on the shelf too long. I want to get right back in there.
Right.
I'm a guy who likes to stay active. Yeah, I like to stay active. And so if I can't, jump on something short notice here in October, November, then by for sure December. I'm going to fight at least once before the year is over, at least.
Big controversy this past weekend. We had Jake Shields take on Paul Harris, and it's kind of a lot of controversy online. People are talking about it. Did you see this fight?
I actually did not see the fight because I was watching the Ronda Rousey fight.
Right.
But I did. I've seen the clips and I've seen the finish and all that. And so, I saw it.
Would you ever consider getting into the cage with a guy, a blatant cheater like that?
I mean, we're fighters. Fight is a fight. If it made sense and, if it was for a title or something of that sort, then of course that's my goal and I have no choice. I have to get in the cage with him. But it's something you have to kind of be aware of. I mean, it's a problem, and it's been a problem for him. And I understand certain guys have a mentality to, I need to finish this fight and make a statement. And that's fine. That's the old school type of mentality. But we're in a sport now to where this is your livelihood. This is how you support your families. This is how he supports his family. And so it's tough when you're in there and you blatantly are really trying to hurt this guy, because that's not what jiu-jitsu teaches. You have to be able to, the guy taps, you have to let go of that hold immediately so you don't hurt someone. What if he was in that position and the guy just basically tore off his shoulder and he could never fight again? And so I think, it definitely was a blatant thing. He's been doing it for years, and, you would think he would learn after being, terminated by the UFC, but unfortunately it's just something that's with him, and he just can't shake it.
Yeah, and he was stripped of his title. They've suspended him for now. A lot of fighters online were saying they'd like to see a lifetime suspension for him. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. I wouldn't say a lifetime suspension, basically because at the end of the day, that's his livelihood as well.
Yeah.
He's a very well-known fighter, a tough guy. He's put a lot of time to get to a level to where you are that skilled and that well-rounded. Takes a lot of hours and a lot of training. And so to punish someone by banning them for life with something like that, I would say it might be a bit extreme, but you have to, they have to let him know that is not okay. And so stripping him of the title, maybe a year or two suspension, and really, I would make him pay a fine, back, and, do something, community service, to where he, as far as teaching, the art of jiu-jitsu, to where he really understands the basics of it again, and knows that it's not a matter of hurting somebody. You've won the fight, you finished the fight, there's no need to keep going. And, luckily that it ended right there, because if you really watched and you saw, the Diaz brothers were trying to come in that cage, and, it's not the first time they brawled in the cage. So, it could have gotten a lot worse.
Yeah, for sure, man. Okay, here's another question. Obviously, you have some outstanding training partners, but if you could train with anyone in the world, past or present, who would it be and why?
Wow. Past or present? To be honest with you, I would have to say it would be a couple of guys.
Okay.
I want to train with, not just one. I would, for sure. I've trained with this guy. I've trained with Johnny Hendricks, and yeah, I would like to train with him, regularly. Johnny's a very well-rounded fighter, a very tough guy, and the way he trains, we have similar attitude when it comes to training. And that's, he's definitely a guy that could elevate you in training.
Sure.
And I would say past, of course, George St. Pierre.
Right.
George St. Pierre is kind of, he's a pioneer in the sport. He was one of the guys that kind of brought in a new style of being able to mix everything well and being completely well-rounded. I would say him, and then I would also go back and say, in earlier days, I would go Randy Couture, because I believe he had that mentality to where he could, it didn't matter size, he would really try to break a guy. And he had the wrestling, he had the strike. I mean, Randy was a man. Everyone knows that. Yeah, I would have to say a combination of those three different guys would be. I would just be in training heaven.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out for us. This has been a great opportunity to speak with you. Do you want to throw out your social media before we let you go?
Oh, yes. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all of those is at USMAN 84KG. That's USMAN 84KG. And I'm also on Facebook, and it's Kamaru Usman MMA Facebook.
Okay, good stuff, man. Thanks for the time, and hopefully you get a fight soon.
Hopefully, man. Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.